Hello, everybody, and welcome to what is my first interview that I'm hosting here with Nothing Without Us. And I'm honestly very, very happy and excited that the first person that I'm going to be interviewing is somebody that I have immense respect for. Say hello to Laura Kate Dale.
Hi, hello. Now I have to be flustered. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. I think what was really important for me to do is make sure that because you are the first person that I'm interviewing, I wanted it to be about something that not is just important to accessibility, but important to you. And I really wanted to talk about your accessibility showcase that you started in 2023. Am I right?
Yeah, 2023, so this is going into its third year now.
I think I remember I was one of the first people on your accessibility showcase. Like I introduced a game and
Yeah.
that was like such an honor back in 2023 to be invited. So thank you for that.
Yes, that was it boss game? The final boss is my heart, I think it might have
Yes,
been.
yes.
Which I love that
Lesbians.
very queer game.
I know, and as somebody that is mildly not straight, I love a bit
Wow.
of queer representation. But yeah, your next accessibility showcase is coming up very soon. And I wanted to ask you what actually inspired you to start making the accessibility showcase?
Yeah, so as you said, the first Accessibility Summer Showcase was in 2023, and I'd sort of wanted it to start a little earlier than that. 2022 was the first year I tried to get it off the ground. The thinking back in 2022 was we were at a point with accessibility a couple of years removed from the release of The Last of Us Part 2, where a lot of developers seem to be aware of conversations around accessibility. We were seeing accessibility pop up at things like the Game Awards, having like dedicated innovation in accessibility awards and things like that. Um, but communication around accessibility information was still pretty lax. You had some companies like PlayStation who were pretty good about announcing accessibility information for their big releases. Usually, like a week or so before release, you'd get a press release. Um, but outside of that, a lot of studios were still sort of relying on uh, if someone who does care about accessibility happens to get review code, you might get coverage before launch, but that's about it. This was prior to accessibility store tags starting to pop up on Xbox. This was before that was a thing. And I remember specifically it was E3 2021.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, back when that was still a very dedicated thing. Being aware that a lot of the big showcases that were happening for like here's all the exciting games coming out in the year ahead did not have any information about accessibility, and I was very aware of like the combination of lots of studios aren't talking about accessibility until the day the game is out if you're lucky, and this is such a great moment of like everyone's attention is on upcoming games at once, and it would be so easy to put some of that information out there. I think specifically, like, there were a couple of really good examples in 2020 of how quickly you can communicate accessibility information in a showcase without, like, having to really slow down to do it.
Yeah.
I remember the state of play presentation for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart that had, like, 3 seconds of essentially just screenshots of the accessibility menu that you could pause and very quickly see what settings were there. It took a matter of seconds,
Yeah.
and that info was like completely there. And as it's not ideal having to pause and freeze frame a trailer, but it made me go. It would be so easy for the big summer showcases to communicate some of that information in advance, and no one's doing it, and that's kind of frustrating. Could I do something to help? Um, and that is where the summer showcase was born, out of just trying to have one thing during the big summer, everyone's talking about upcoming games celebration, where it's like every game that gets announced, at the very least, you're gonna know with a relative amount of safety as a disabled player, am I gonna be able to play this or not? And it's okay if the answer's no. just because it means you don't have to risk getting excited about something and then finding out later you've got to tamp down that excitement because it's not actually going to be playable for you.
I think people sometimes forget that it's not just about simply can you play it. Like if you buy the game,
Mm,
can you play it? So many people completely understand the hype that comes before the game, the
mm,
years of waiting, the pre-orders, the rush to get copies, the trailer reactions. There's a whole community
yeah.
around games that isn't just about whether you can play it. It's about your love for like a series, like new
Yeah.
things, the community, the kind of like shared excitement and love of those things. And it's kind of another symptom of disabled people being kind of forgotten by the world, you know? Like
Mm,
people saying like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just like get it when it comes out and if it doesn't work, you know, Steam lets you refund if you play less than 2 hours." But it doesn't take into account that there's kind of the element of rejection there that a lot of disabled people
yeah.
feel from society in general, and it just kind of barrels over into that a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's so
It's
important that we
yeah.
get this information
It's
early.
it's just that as you say, it's this whole thing of as much as it is just like marketing, it can't be overstated how much like it's become a part of the culture in the gaming space of getting excited long in advance of the thing you want to play and like chatting with other people who are really excited about it. At the time that this is being recorded and when it's going to be going up, we are in the month leading up to the release of the Switch 2. And like that's been a really good example of like that's a games console that's still like, about a month away from release at the time of recording, probably a week or two at the time this goes up. Um, and like daily, I'm seeing people posting there like, "Oh, what we want from the Switch 2, what we're excited for Switch 2," and you know, people are having to pre-order that console now if they want a chance to play it on launch day. Knowing whether it's going to have accessibility features or not that they need is really important to can I put a pre-order down? Will I be able to can I be excited about it right now? Because other like what's the point of pre-ordering it, getting excited, and then going, oh, I can't actually play it. I now have to be very disappointed on the day everyone out all my friends are happy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm just like, I'm so glad you got this ball rolling. Because the fact is, we are on its third year now, and that's super exciting. But speaking of the fact that it's been running for a couple years now, I wanted to ask if there have been like any hurdles along the way or anything unexpected that's happened that you've had to like kind of adjust to get this off the ground.
There were definitely hurdles. I'm a big lover of trying to do ambitious projects without really knowing if I have all the tools I need to do them. I would rather say, yeah, I want to do this thing and I'll work out how to do it as I go. That first year that I tried to make the showcase happen, 2022, the big reason it didn't happen in that first year was sort of twofold. First, convincing game publishers to trust you with their trailers and reveals and being a part of their marketing cycle when you have no background in PR and marketing and like it's a big ask, particularly when you haven't run a showcase before and you have no guarantee that other people will give you their trailers to that you'll get enough trailers together to put a showcase together.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask. Specifically when you're going to developers and being like, I want to make this showcase really accessible. I want to have it available with British Sign Language, audio description, American Sign Language, which means I'm going to need multiple versions of the trailer from you so that I can make accessible trailer variants. I'm going to need trailers like weeks in advance. Like I'm going to need a much longer lead time than other showcases need because I have to get the American Sign Language and the British Sign Language and the audio descriptions made. Um, that all means having to sort of lead things up a lot in advance, more than some of the other showcases do. But it's also convincing publishers that first year that there was a market that was worth creating bespoke content for. That there was going to be enough people who are eager to find out about accessible games that telling them putting your game front and center and saying, hey, our game looks cool and also it's accessible in these ways would reach an audience who would care about it.
Yeah.
So getting 2023's showcase to successfully happen helped with a lot of that. Being able to point to, oh, it's getting media coverage from games media sites was like, oh, this is a good PR opportunity for you, and like that made it a lot easier to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
The bigger hurdle in years since is has been funding it, and it's largely because this is a solo created affair. I do not charge any money to any of the people whose trailers are in the showcase, which, if you've heard some of the numbers floating around for what some of the showcases charge for trailer inclusion, you know, maybe the smart thing would be to charge people for their inclusion. But if someone's got a really cool accessible game, we would have to spend money to advertise here to turn them away from talking about their accessibility. And, you know, it's a decision I make. But it means that things like funding the sign language adapted versions, the auto-described versions, art assets, costs for editing and things, all of that is... I either have to find someone who's nice enough to sponsor the event to help with some of those costs, or it is just eating into my own pocket and making it happen because it's a thing I care about doing. This year, 2025, Minicat Studios really, really graciously have helped out with funding the British Sign Language, which is our biggest expense this year. I want to give them a little shout out. They were so gracious. I came to them with like a big list of like, oh, here's all the things I'm happy to do to promote you for sponsorship, and they were like, we weren't gonna really ask for anything. We just like the showcase and want to help see it happen. I was like, the accessibility community is lovely sometimes.
Honestly, like it's sometimes it's not a tiny community, but it feels small in that like everybody cares about one another and everybody has so much passion for the same thing.
Yeah.
And like, I've worked with Minicads a bunch of times on various different occasions for different things, and they are some of the kindest people that I've met.
Absolutely.
And
like, their involvement it was purely we want to make sure it is financially viable for this showcase to be as accessible as possible. I was like, thank you, that is very kind.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, other than that, complexities of running the showcase, it's mainly making it into a coherent thing that has flow and that feels... Because, like, if you watch a lot of these, like, game announcement showcases, it's easy to take for granted that, like, there is a sort of narrative flow and, like, a pace of, like, games of a certain genre flow into games of another genre.
Yeah.
Until I did it the first time, it's a fun puzzle piece to put together, but it is a lot of shuffling things around until you go, yeah, that feels professional.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for telling me about all of that stuff, and thank you for shouting out Minicads. They are fantastic, so go you. Also, I love cats, so regardless, they're great. One thing that I was curious about is what has been the overall reception to the showcase, partially from developers, like you said, because there was that, you know, there is a trust element there involved, but also by viewers.
So, the first year that the showcase happened, we had a mix of responses to it, and largely it was all very positive from the disabled community. From the disabled community, it was just, wow, this is really lovely. These are cool games. I thank you so much for putting this information front and center. But obviously, when you try and push something as like, it's taking place during Summer Games Fest week, I was like fighting to get it listed on like, you know, IGN's list of Summer Games Fest presentations. You get people who aren't accessibility people, who aren't disabled gamers, stumbling upon it because they're like, oh, it was alphabetically... we were both alphabetically and chronologically the first showcase of 2023 to happen on those lists, which meant a lot of people very excited for Summer Games Fest who don't really know much about accessibility stumbling in. And you had some of the response there that was like, oh, why are you... why are you talking about this game has subtitles? Every game has subtitles, don't they? Like, people who clearly assume that accessibility is more common than it is, and that, like, saying explicitly a game supports certain features is a thing that someone would need to know.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of really positive response from people who'd stumbled upon it who were like, I hadn't thought about this, and I don't consider myself disabled, but it is really good to know that this game offers this thing. I would find that useful. Oh, I can pause at any time. I like when games can do that. And it did definitely seem to win some people over in terms of, I don't consider myself someone who needs accessibility, but you're still showing me cool games, and some of these are features that, like, I would use. I've had some emails in the time since that first showcase from people who were like, I don't think of myself as someone that needs accessibility, but you did open my eyes to the fact that, like, this stuff is important, which was really lovely. The wider response to it, it's been very lovely to see people in games media that have really responded well to it. Like, Eurogamer, both in 2023 and 2024, wrote really lovely pieces about talking about the fact that they really like Chris Donaldson at Eurogamer, I think in 2023, said he really appreciated that it feels like the wall between developers and players is really thin
I love
in the
that,
showcase.
yeah.
In that so much of it is developers very directly talking about, here are the choices we made with our games to make them more playable, and, like, this is what we're offering and why we're doing it. Which is a thing that, like, yeah, a lot of these showcases are just, here is a trailer, consume. And, like, that was not a deliberate thing on my part, but it's something I've come to go, oh, that is something kind of unique about the tone of this one. But yeah, in terms of response, like, it sometimes breaks containment, the showcase. Like, occasionally, it will hit that mass audience just because it's something happening during Summer Games Fest, and you will get some people who are a little bit you'll get some ableism floating around it, but largely it has been received the way I hoped it would be, which was, first and foremost, it's just a place to find cool games. The fact that you'll know whether they're playable for you if you have certain accessibility needs is almost secondary, in that, like, hey, if you have no access needs, you can still find 20 plus cool games from the next year here and see exciting things.
Yeah. And I think what you were saying about the tone of the show, I think it is important, and I'm really glad that you're leaning into that tone, that we kind of have this more humanized aspect with the Accessibility Showcase, because I think being very real with it and having, like, conversations about why choices were made breaks down the ableism a little bit. Because people that are like, oh, I'm not disabled, but actually this accessibility thing is really cool, that then can lead them into being like, hey, whether you're disabled or not, accessibility is cool. And, like, just having these things. And also, back to the thing about every game has subtitles. Having subtitles doesn't mean they're good subtitles. I am having the time of my life playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 right now, and I hate those subtitles. The blurred background. Why would you do that? With thin white letters? Why?
Anytime the scene is black and white and the text is in white is terrible.
I just love that game, but subtitles do not accessibility make. Let me tell you, like, it's... Yeah. So your showcase is important, because if people have subtitles, they need to be good, accessible subtitles. There are actually rules to this regarding shapes, sizes, fonts, colors, all of it. Like, it's so complicated, and there are good ways to make subtitles that are both accessible and, like, kind of fit with the overall theme or, like, art style of your game. But a lot of people still don't really do that. So it's not a simple thing. And that's why your showcase is, like, super important. Speaking of your showcase being super important, congratulations on your win at the GDC Accessibility Awards.
Ooh, look at me winning awards for PR and stuff up against
Right?
big AAA PR departments.
My question is, did you ever expect to win an award on this showcase? And I'm gonna assume the answer is no.
No. In the last year, I've won two awards, largely thanks to the Accessibility Summer Showcase, the MCV Women in Games Award, and the GA Conf Award 2024. And both of those I was not really prepared for. The MCV Women in Games Award, I got read out that I'd won, and I didn't have a speech ready, and I fumbled something out that apparently was endearing and not. It didn't sound terrible. I was just like, "Hello, I'm autistic and overwhelmed, but thank you for enjoying what I do." It's it's been really nice this last year, feeling like this little passion project that I make. I go out of pocket on to promote other people's games, that it's felt like it has been taken seriously as like an important thing.
Yeah.
And again, when I am up against like, big companies with like hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing budgets, that like there's corners of the internet going like, yeah, but your little showcase is important. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I did something good.
Honestly, I'm so proud of you. And I'm really looking forward to whatever the Accessibility Summer Showcase becomes in future. I don't know if there is anything that you would like to say before I wrap this up. If there's anything you'd like to say about this year's showcase and where people could find it.
Well, this year's Summer Showcase is happening on Friday, June 6th at 4 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. It'll be available with baked-in subtitles on Twitch at twitch.tv/LauraKBuzz. At the same time, it will be premiering as YouTube videos over on youtube.com/LauraKBuzz with non-baked-in subtitles, so the kind that you can customize through YouTube's backend, as well as the American Sign Language, British Sign Language, and audio-described versions of the showcase. They'll all be going up at the same time. We are expecting about 45 minutes, probably around 20 games. We will have a page up on Steam, which, fingers crossed, will be on the front page of Steam along with the other Summer Games Fest showcases. There'll be a page on Steam you can go to where all of this year's games are organized by, like, games that are colorblind friendly, games that have motor accessibility accommodations, games that are playable without sight. The other thing I can maybe tease a little bit here, and I tried to do this last year and it didn't work out for various reasons, but we're trying it again this year, is this year is hopefully going to be the first year we make this a twice annual thing and have the Accessibility Winter Showcase, which will be hopefully aiming for December. Tentative dates, we're hoping to do it the day of the Game Awards in December. So, maybe 4 p.m. on the day of the Game Awards, 4 p.m. UK, a few hours before the Game Awards happens, come find out about more accessible games, but in the other half of the year.
I love that. Merry December to all of us this year, I think. No, that's
I decided
so exciting.
all of this stress and anxiety, wouldn't it be worth doing it twice as often? Yeah.
I love being stressed and when things are not profitable. Let's go! Yeah! Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for that little teaser. And thank you to everybody that is watching. I hope you are able to go and watch the Accessibility Summer Showcase on June 6th, 4 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Nice early accessible breakfast for all of you over on the West Coast.
If you can all tear yourselves away from the Switch 2 for like less than an hour, there'll be cool games to see.
I'm sure your Switch 2 is going to have a firmware update at some point.
Probably.
Just delay it until the showcase and let it run while you're busy. Well, no, thank you so much, Laura, for spending time with me today and just for being you. Thank you. And
Thank you for having me and for being you. You're great too.
Thank you. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. See you in the next video.